my name is Stefan Grönemann. I'm a field application scientist at Thermo Fisher Scientific, and today I'd like to show you the HID Customer Experience Lab in Darmstadt from Thermo Fisher Scientific. We have all the HID instruments you know in our lab. Here is the 3500 XL instrument for capillary electrophoresis. Of course, we have an Ion Gene Studio S5 Prime instrument for NGS, and to make your life easier, the Ion Chef system for preparing the templating and the library runs for NGS. We have a Seq Studio HID, and of course we have a Rapid ID instrument. On that instrument we will focus on today. We will focus on sample preparation for the Rapid ID instrument and the Rapid ID sample cartridges. We'll start with buccal swabs, but then we'll go over to blood samples, and I will show you a minimum amount of blood and a maximum amount of blood for the Rapid ID sample cartridges if the blood is fresh. I will show you the sample preparation of a chewing gum and also of a cigarette butt. To prepare the samples for the Rapid ID instrument, I will use a HoloLens so that you can exactly see what I see.
So this is my working place for today. I will show you how I prepare some samples for the Rapid ID instrument and the Rapid ID sample cartridges. So here we have a Rapid ID sample cartridge. And first I want to start with buccal swab samples. So I have here some swabs. There are others. Let's take one. And the Rapid ID is swab agnostic. That means you can use any kind of swab that you prefer. Can be buccal swabs with cotton, like this one. And you see the size of the swab matches the sample chamber of the Rapid ID sample cartridge. But of course you can also use flocked swabs. And there's one. You see it's too long, but it has a breaking point. And you could put it in easily. Okay. So buccal swabs, no problem. We are swab agnostic. That's fine. Choose the swab you want, you validate it, and then you can use it. Next I want to show you is samples with blood. And we had customers that asked us how many blood do I have to put on a swab, and they also said that there could be a problem that policemen are using too many blood, and because they hope that more blood will help in getting a good profile. I can tell you, you don't need too much blood. Here's a cotton swab with 20 microliters of blood. That should be good with fresh blood to produce a full DNA profile on the Rapid ID instrument. And to show you some other volumes visually, this is a cotton swab with 10 microliters of blood. That's one with 5 microliters of blood, and a very small amount, probably You might miss one or the other allele when it's so low, the volume of blood, but this is 1.25 microliters of blood. So you see, it's not much blood. And the reason I show you this is because we have an example where too much blood was used. See, this is a Rapid ID sample cartridge, yeah, and a bloody swab. And on top of that bloody swab, customer put additional blood, yeah, with a pipette. You can see it's way too much. And what happens then is that you can have these blood bubbles, right? It's the way how the sample is agitated in the sample chamber. There's bubbles. And when you have so much blood, like I've shown to you, this one, the blood is foaming and coming out of the cartridge. So what you see, it's way too much blood. This is a nice amount of blood on a cotton swab that should produce a good profile with fresh blood. Of course, you can also use a little bit more blood, but be careful with your resources. It's not necessary to overload the cartridge. Another thing that you can analyze is this chewing gum. And now when it's a little warm, there can be a problem. The chewing gum is very sticky. And if you don't want that it is very sticky, put it into the freezer, right? And let it cool down. And while it's cooling down, we will analyze the cigarette butt. And this one, see, normal filter of a cigarette. Already prepared it. It's about half a centimeter to a centimeter from the end where you smoke the cigarette. Do not use this filter part because it will soak the liquid in the sample chamber. With normal cartridges, the ACE cartridges, you have 500 microliters of extraction buffer, but with the Intel cartridges for samples for crime scene investigation, you only have 300 microliters of blood, and then this filter could soak a lot of your extraction buffer. When you have prepared that, you cut it, you can easily put it inside. And one possibility to get it down is that you tap it. If you don't want to tap it, another possibility to get the filter paper down is to use a pipette tip and press it down. So it's there and can be analyzed. Okay, let's look what happened to our chewing gum. It's here. Now it's much less sticky. can do is take it from here, like this, and then put it to the sample chamber. Take care that you do not clog the fluidic lines from down below, because the lysis buffer comes from down below. So don't press it on the ground like this, it's good. That should work. Okay. Yeah, I always got good results with cigarette butts and the filter paper from there, chewing gums, also with blood. And keep in mind that the success for a good analysis on repeated ID is more up to what you put into the sample cartridge. And if you prepare your samples well, you should have a good result. So let's analyze our samples and start with the cigarette filter paper. I think you already know that there are two types of cartridges, right? One is the ACE sample cartridge for reference samples, buccal swabs, and other wide varieties of samples from collection devices. And there's the Intel cartridges for investigative lead samples like blood, bone, tissue, saliva, hair, clothing, and other types of casework samples. For the filter paper of the cigarette, we used the Intel cartridge because this runs less lysis buffer and has more cycles. So let's log in. I'm looking a little bit higher now because I type in my login pin. It's easy to run the sample. We just give it a name. Then the instrument software asks us to insert the sample cartridge. And I've put the instrument into demo mode. In reality, it will take a little bit more time, of course, but in this demo mode, the counter runs down very fast. And then the data is transferred to the RapidLink software, and we can analyze it and run our next sample. So yeah, demo mode, very fast. And take out sample cartridge, also show us if the instrument run was successful. Then he logs out of, have to log in again. And we can run the next sample.